Oh, what? What's happening? There's lockdown, but I haven't done my kitchen. I don't care. This is my little humble dwelling. I've been doing it up. I bought it at the end of last. Well, I bought it mid last year, but this didn't go through. For ages, took a long time. I've just been slowly doing up the place. Done up the bathroom recently. And I just stopped doing it up because I thought, well, what's the point in case everything falls to shit? Because there's other priorities. You know what I mean? Oh, anyway, yeah. So here's El Bathrumio. I've got to use that as a kitchen sink as well at the moment because I don't have a kitchen sink. But yeah, this cost me €18,000 at the time. Of course, it doesn't really matter what you spend with it. It's just if you've got the money, spend it. I didn't have much to spend because I didn't want to sell out gold. But for the sake of buying a house that I could store my bus in, because I was traveling all around Europe in this bus. See the church bells. Anyway, yeah, traveling around Europe in that bus. My brother came here and did these walls. Beautiful roof and everything. Nice warm pitchka. I'm actually in the process of, everything's a bit of a mess because I'm in the process of trying to move things to the bus just in case we head to the mountains, me and a couple of neighbours, you know. But that's later on. We've got different levels of planning. I got fuel and food and all that sort of stuff. But the thing is, if people haven't prepped by now, you're pretty screwed. I mean, I've been prepping since, well, the whole time I lived in America. Before I even got there, I started buying gold in 2010. I took the wrong keys. You know, you don't actually have to lock anything here. I only started locking it now because a while ago we had these immigrants. My friends, Mrs. I don't see him as the devil. I'm just saying these immigrants that were all sporting brand new cell phones and American military backpacks. Fancy that one, eh? And they were all from the Congo. And the other thing that was really strange, one of the guys in the army was saying, was that there was 12 of them in total that my friend's missus found. And they were saying that they put the backpacks in a formation to show the next troop what direction to go to and how far. So once they get a certain distance, they don't need the backpacks anymore, you see? Or they lighten their load. This is the bus. I haven't used it for, well, since I was living in it last year when I was first starting to do up the house and making it so I could kind of live in it. I need to fix that wee board up there. So I've just been charging radios, filling diesel tanks, petrol tanks, two-stroke generator, all that sort of stuff. So it fits 6, maybe 8 people. You could fit more really. But this is my ark, and it's quite funny how I called it the ark. What is it? Not quite a year, maybe 8 months ago. I was thinking of all these different names, and I thought the ark would be a good name. And isn't it so strange the times we're in now? Anyway, isn't it so strange the times that we're in? Yeah, it's funny to. I'm pretty sure I'll turn from being one of the craziest people most of my friends know to being one of the most thoughtful for planning people they want to emulate. Anyway, these are little sleeping pods here. They all have like USB and light and stuff like that. You know, it's a high probability that we're not going to have the internet pretty soon, I would say. You got to remember the big reason for the internet, and I said this in a video yesterday, the big reason for the internet is so the government can do their stuff. So they can pass information back and forward. Now, most of the systems I put in for different government organizations have point-to-point links. So between two organizations, they could actually network these. You could actually get a scenario where, let's say, for example, you have what they call merged services between let's say one I did in London was Three Rivers District Council and Watford Borough Council, who are no longer together, but they were. You've got Richmond and who the hell are they? I think Wandsworth are with Richmond now. Anyway, you've got all these kind of linkages. So it doesn't take much to put another wireless link between them, so you can start getting these government organizations that can link together. And then by default, that is the centralized government having everything they need to control or to pass data back and forth. Let me just finish looking around my bus. So it's all got like LED lights and everything, so it's highly unlikely that you're going to run out of batteries. LED down there, 65 or 69,000 lumens I think it is in total at the front, so it's like you literally melt people if they try blind you with their flashers. LED in the back, it's all been replaced. I'm just going to do a quick run around because I've got this in another video before, but yeah, I'm just getting this ready to go again. I had these pipes coming out, so because basically it just falls straight in the ground when you use the sink. The toilet has got a cassette. I've got the 2 truck batteries in the front are charged, and the 2 batteries in the 6 batteries in the back here are charged too. Scottish license plates because I refuse to have GB on any vehicle that I have. I fucking cannot stand the imperialist scum. So yeah, I really bought the house because of the barn. I just wanted somewhere to park. I found Slovenia. I loved the place. The people are really good here. Yeah, the country's locked down. I've been chopping some trees and stuff yesterday. Pruned my apple trees are really old, so let's hope this pruning job doesn't kill them. They actually had some, what do you call it? You can see up there, there's a leaf of one. I'm going to get it off later. It's a parasite called mistletoe. Which isn't that quite funny that mistletoe was a parasite, and you meant to hang it under a doorway and kiss a girl. Well, unless you are a girl. Anyway, well, maybe that's what it doesn't matter. And as a result, people end up getting hooked up with a parasite for the rest of their lives. Ha ha! Go MGTOW. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to point out some things at the moment, like the ridiculously high number of international and regional celebrities. Have you noticed how many? My friend was saying this morning, because I was telling him about the Edris Elba thing, isn't it? Oh look, here's one for England. New Zealand will have one. Who's famous in New Zealand? Oh no, let's give it to Jason Gunn. Who's famous in Australia? Let's think. Russell Crowe? No, he's kind of a Kiwi as well. Oh, keep thinking. Paul Hogan. Oh, he's old, isn't he? He's older than the hills. This will keep happening because even if there is real cases of this going on, look, for all we know, the virus is completely fake, and the dead bodies you see are just the government exterminating people. We don't even know. We don't know anything. We know nothing. We're just the quislings. I spoke about Nancy Pelosi yesterday. The woman's insane, but the weird things she does with her fucking jaw. Please check yesterday's Red Pill Diaries video, the one that says about the piss take. But yeah, there's something odd about that person. Just like Hillary Clinton when she gets those glitches. They all get these glitches. Why? How come all these people, and she's worth $196 million, is it? And then she's making $196,000 a year. Like she really has to make that money because she's serving the public. You know what I mean? Serves the public, tells you that you need to do with the minimum wage or whatever the hell it is, but then makes $196,000 for doing nothing except for getting in the way of Donald Trump attempting to run the country. If it's all not a complete elaborate sham and game, which it might be. Oh no, I've got a cough. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is, the fact that they don't mind the system collapsing, the fact that they don't mind paying money, they could have always printed the money. See, if people get this into your head now, when I was years ago in economics class in South Africa, or accountancy class, I think it was actually, I went to a trade school and not a normal high school. They teach you motor mechanics and electrical trade theory and all that sort of stuff and building construction. And I'm kind of glad I went to a school like that actually. And also you can go into different disciplines like hospitality management and shit like that, as well as doing your normal subjects, which were English, maths, and Afrikaans. Anyway, point being, we got asked if we knew how money works. Yeah, they just created it at will. Because I knew that the gold standard didn't exist, and this is going back a long time now. I was 12 years old, 13 years old. So I knew that had changed. I did know a little bit of histories of different countries. And because I'd lived in a few different countries, I got taught different histories. And it's funny how they differ. It's funny how the view of the Second World War was very different from a South African perspective than it was taught in Scotland and New Zealand, for example. What I wanted to say was these famous people, it's just too scripted. I mean, okay, so my friend in Poland was saying this morning that they've taken I think it was the forestry commissioner, the forestry commissioner in government, and they've made him have coronavirus too. And the thing is, from the get-go, the words I was using was, let's come together. Remember David Cameron? We need to come together, and all over the world, Helen Clark, we need to come together. And, it doesn't matter how long ago you go back, the come together line. I hated it. I always hated it. We're all in this together. Even back in the Second World War, we're all in this together. They're bringing back all this rhetoric again, right? And, look, there's a chance this isn't nefarious. There's a chance there's one theory that Trump is going to clean up the world, and what he's actually doing is getting people off the street because only the cartel and the mafia and the cabal need to still communicate, so it will single them out and he can exterminate them. Highly unlikely, because almost everything that happens in this world is for the embetterment of evil, right? And almost everything that happens is to take the piss out of the people who are kind of woke. And by the way, we're taking that term back. Woke came from the red pill community. It does not fucking belong to quisling, retarded LGBTQZP people, right? It belongs to the red pill community. It means you woke the fuck up, right? It does not mean that, I recognize your gender pronoun. No, it doesn't mean fucking woke, you retards. None of them will be watching this channel, but I'm just, saying it as if they are. It's really annoying, actually. It drove me nuts. I only found out from my friend's son about a year ago that he says, "What, woke?" He goes, "Oh, nah." And I went, what do you mean? And then I found out that they had hijacked the term, these assholes. And it's the furthest from woke. When you do the upside down world thing, like the opposite of what is true? Because what it really means is I'm completely walking through life totally asleep. And the thing is, I'm not saying that I've got anything against gay people or anything. I've got tons of gay friends. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I cannot stand the agenda that was forcing it down our throat, ramming it down our throat since the 90s of political correctness. People who, like me, who grew up in a fucking mixed race family in South Africa and lived through apartheid, being told by some fucking dipshits who don't know anyone of any other color, but they go in these marches and stuff, these anti-fan marches, and they think they're woke. It's just so fucking ridiculous. It really is the pot calling the kettle black. It's just insane when they, or a few years ago when I got called racist once, and I'm like, my fiance is black and she's from Zimbabwe. What the fuck? And by the way, now, I don't know. I've just gone off black chicks, but I'm still into Asian and white chicks. But the thing is, I just think women overall have just ruined my life. So I kind of went MGTOW a few years ago. I broke up with Chantel and Alyssa. Alyssa's half Korean. Hi Alyssa, if you're watching, and half American. Yeah. Oh, there's an example. So I was telling her a long time ago, you need to get out of America. Just don't be here. And then, lo and behold, she went to jail. So she's been there. She just got out after a year. And I told you, the place is a trap. And, people are thinking, oh, where's a safe place to be right now? Well, you could say third world nations, but the good thing about third world nations is that they're already used to being poor. They're already used to having nothing. So it's a lot safer. But I would actually say, what's better is countries, if you're in Europe, for example, like Bulgaria, like Slovenia, where I am, countries that have had long, hard times years ago, but the people are good and solid people, places that are not in a city, no matter what country you're in, especially if you're in a third world country, Oh no, shit. Sorry. Especially if you're in a developed country like America or England, because they will have the police patrols coming through, and well, put it this way: the laws will already will have bent behind the scenes. They'll be doing emergency orders and all this sort of stuff. It's funny how the elite, when they do their criminal acts, they do them in a certain way that is it's conforming to the law, dotting all the I's and crossing the T's like it matters. They made the whole system up anyway. They made it to benefit themselves. They made it to benefit they made it so that their pedophile friends could get away with raping someone's daughter, while also having a system that could simultaneously be used to ensnare someone who was totally innocent but had done something the government didn't like. So, okay, it's just like tax law in America. You never really know if you're completely safe. You know, you can do everything. Like I had the CPA the whole time, but I had the constant fear that in that country, it's only a matter of time before I end up in jail because of the way I'm outspoken. You know what I mean? So they would just invent something in the tax law to make me have broken the law, even though I've done nothing wrong. And that country cost me more than any other country in the world by taxes, and I got less from the system. Actually, I got nothing from the system at all. It's the only place in the world that had absolutely zero from the system, and yet given money hand over fist. Just watching these pussycats here spy each other out from the distance. So yeah, the actor scenario telling us that we need to come together and all these other cliches. Meanwhile, but stay apart and self-isolate. You know, fuck them. Just do what you want to do. The thing is, the reason I'm not out and about at the moment is because everything's shut. But I am still seeing neighbours. I'm gonna fill up some more fuel cans later on. This isn't panic prepping. I've been prepping for a long time, and even when this happened, I've been buying canned food and all that sort of stuff for weeks since people were laughing about it. Because you just never know. But the simple fact is, some people. A lot of the world is going to get red pilled from this scenario, because things like I said to my teacher years ago about money, money is just as simple as that. They print it. They do a keystroke and they create it on computers, and some of it gets printed out. Well, that is actually the reality. Less than 10% of paper, of money in this world is actually printed paper notes, right? The rest of it, I think they call it broad money is the term. The rest of it is just on a computer screen, and that's why they can print it at will, and that's why people like Nancy Pelosi, where there she is a year ago talking about how Trump and he's spending money and it's got to cost $1 billion trillion, and she's like all over the place. Her brain keeps on malfunctioning. They haven't replaced the circuit boards in her brain, and you know, she goes all over the place. And now we're talking about 1.4 trillion bailout or quantitative easing, whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. In America, then it's another trillion, sorry. So that's 2.4 trillion at least already. Not a blink of an eyelid. All these programs they couldn't afford. Hey, Bernie, how are you going to get this? How are you going to get that? I don't know, but you can somehow afford these things, can't you? When the push comes shove, because the whole monetary system's fake. They're going to pump the monetary system up, and they're going to completely deflate it when they move into assets like gold and silver, and maybe standard drawing rights will become a cryptocurrency, for all we know. But I wouldn't buy into it because it's just a new iteration of their bullshit. I mean, when I decided to leave the system, I left it for good. And I was phasing myself out of the system for years. I also did a thing like semi-retirement. The first time I semi-retired, as some of my Aussie friends will know, I was in Australia in between 2003 to 2000 I think it was 2007. And the reason why at first is because I couldn't find work, but I was also DJing, and I thought, well, this is kind of like a job, and you know, dealing a bit of this and that here and there, you know, and getting paid to DJ as well. So I thought, well, this is pretty cool. So I just hung out and had fun and partied for about 4 years. It was a good life, and then I did the same again in New Zealand for a while. And the reason why I did that is not because I'm a particularly lazy bastard, but I tend to work hard in short stints because I'm lazy, because I want to have retirement throughout my life, but not particularly lazy, that I sit and do nothing like a sloth. So overall, my reasons for doing that are that I've never believed the situation that you work until you're 65, until they're trying to even up the age. Oh, just in case, too many people are living into their retirement, and we don't want to be paying these. If you really think about it, even though the system's all false and all fake, and they can print money at will, they're still stingy, greedy pieces of shit. They don't want to pay retirees what they have paid into the system, right? So that's why they talk about putting up the retirement age. It already went up before, and it went up for women too, right? From 60 to 64 in many countries, and then it went to 65 in other countries when it had been 64, things like that, And they want talking about moving to 70 now, just to make sure that you can't retire, just to make sure that you can't spend time and look around you and go, oh my God, I'm a complete government tool, and I've been working my whole life for a bunch of pedophiles. Oh my God, what a moron! And they get red pilled at 65 and have a heart attack, or they wake up but they're too weak to actually do anything about the new knowledge that they've actually attained, which is that they have been fucking suckers. So I decided a few years ago, I started earning six-figure salary in my late 20s, early 30s, and then again I stopped working. The last time I stopped working was for good. That was at the end of 2016. And this is not because I'd amassed a ridiculous amount of money. It was actually the opposite, as I stopped seeing the value in money. So you will notice that in the past, okay, my other channel's gone now, but I used to travel a lot, right? I've been all over the world. I've been to well in excess of 100 countries. I think it's about closer to 150 countries I've been to now, right? So I used to be quite flashy, and I used to give a shit about clothes and stuff. I don't give a fuck how I dress now. I just realized what was important and what isn't important. And it's funny that just like with drugs, you don't get over drugs, I find, until you have enough to get sick of them, right? And what happens in so many countries is New Zealand's got a pee epidemic, which is basically crystal meth, they call it in other countries, right? And the reason they have that epidemic is because it's so bloody expensive. And also the government makes sure they block everything else. They make it so hard to get real drugs like ecstasy and marijuana and stuff like that. They make it such a big crime as if you're doing something like bad, like being a pedophile, for example. But that's excused more in most of the world. It's just weird, the upside down world we live in. But what ends up happening is these horrible drugs, especially that are not good for your soul, when you can't afford enough of them, you end up wanting them more. You end up being on it forever. When you can afford as much as you want, I had one photograph in America with a big, massive rock like this long, looked like one of those Superman crystals. It said it was white, and this chick's tits, and because the cartel out there, they're bringing it into America so cheap. So what would actually cost you, and I'm not lying to you, about $1 million in New Zealand, you could probably get for, I think, it's only a couple of grand, and I'm not exaggerating. It's insane, the markup. So my friend Chris would always say, it is fire, man, it's fire. My point is, you get off these things by having more than you can even cope with and going, you know what, this is actually worthless shit. It has the perception of being worth something, being worth gold, because your government creates a situation by regulation that makes it hard to get. You're like, oh, look at this tiny little thing. It's $100, man. Well, it's the perception of value. So needless to say, I don't do any drugs anymore, but I do occasionally smoke a bit of weed. But not very much. And of course, occasionally I smoke cigarettes as well. Oh, and that's right, I do alcohol as well. Okay, I'm a druggie. But no, I gave up the other drugs. I think psychedelics are okay. If you haven't done them, if you're new to the wake up journey, you might be well served to do things like DMT and ayahuasca if you can. But acid and mushrooms, these things are really good for depression as well. But they're also good to give yourself direction. I used to say don't go overboard, but I actually found a couple of times back in Colorado where I went overboard, and actually had the best night of my life. I had a singularity once. I could hear everyone's thoughts in the room. I even stopped myself getting pickpocketed, which was lucky because I had a gun in my pocket. And I know it sounds, I don't give a fuck. Just judge me whatever you want. But I could feel the hand coming towards thinking about pickpocketing me, and I blocked the hand. I did this once in London as well when I was on ecstasy. But it's really weird. You get these things where it's almost like you can hear someone whispering, and it's like everyone's whispering at once. Fuck, it's just so noisy. So I went outside, and there's all these kind of essay-looking guys by this fire. It was like an industrial party in the industrial estate in Denver. Anyway, yeah. So that was a weird night. Me and my friend Desiree end up taking some acid, and she goes to me after half an hour, "Do you think we should have some more?" "No, I think it's only been about half an hour." No, it's been about an hour." "No, I think it's been a half an hour." And then I have the second. Okay, then she convinces me to have the second one that I put about 4 for us, and I come there with this chick who it's quite funny. I come there with this girl Valerie, and I said to her, "Do me a favor, never call me again." I love doing that one. You know when someone shows himself as a lech, you know, like anyway, she has one of them. But she went there with us, and then it was just me and Desiree, this other chick from California, who I've known for quite a long time. And next thing you know, I'm on this dance floor area, and this guy says, "Hey man, you had anything tonight?" I'm like, yeah, I had one of these phoenixes. He goes, "Oh my god, they're fucking strong, man!" And I went, "What?" I just had the second one. My god, everything became like, not like Tron, like Terrahawks. I remember there was this guy, DJ Snipe. I can't remember his name, but it's DJ Snipes is his DJ name. And I'm looking at it. Apparently it was a DJM 600, which I've used plenty of before. And I'm like, "Hey man, what do you call this kind of mixer?" Because to me, it looked like a perfectly spherical ball, like those Terrahawks things years ago, that little children's TV show. It was unreal. And everyone looked so shiny and great, and everyone just looked perfect. And I thought, oh, it's like we're different human beings. We're different than the other. That is something that I still think is true. I think a lot of people are, as I mentioned in the other video, I think their soul has dissociated from their body, or they never had one to begin with, or as many people call it, NPCs. The world is just full of people on people who, if you even try wake up on the slightest, vigorously defend the blue-pilled scenario of the system slave that they are, and the paradigm they live in, the system slavery paradigm they live in. I'm going all over the place this morning. I just wanted to cover a few things, but the main thing is these whole crisis actors, but big name crisis actors. I would even put into there Arnold Schwartznegger telling us to stay at home because now I'm sitting with my animals, and now that could be part of it. I don't know. I would say that don't trust anyone who has. I got nothing against rich people. I'm doing okay myself in life. I'm not struggling, but you have to beware people who have not exerted much effort and very little innovation in their lives, and yet have earned the same amount of money as millions of people in first world countries, not just third world countries, or who have the same wealth as a country has. You have to beware of those people, because there was something that was given to them on a plate in most cases. There's something oddly, eerily, unconvincing to me about why people like Jeff Bezos end up with as much money as a quarter of the earth. You know, there is something sick about that, and there's something that's indefensible by an energy harvesting point of view. When you understand that money is a token of energy, and so all these people are doing, what they're doing is they're exchanging your life, like I mentioned the movie In Time yesterday with Justin Timberlake, where they have because remember the other thing the elite do, and the other thing the Illuminati do, like the Hunger Games and all these things. Now, that could be from people like Woody Harrelson, who have been very early red pill people. When I say very early, I'm talking 30 years early, you know what I mean? Of course, it's much earlier than that. There's people that lived in previous generations that were red pilled before the terminology came around that we've labeled it today. Truthers. Ike is one of them. And people can say, "Oh, you're not saying Ike, are you?" Have a look at the things he's been saying for years. Even if you look at some of the niche things I spoke about yesterday, such as the flat Earth theory people that should be called something else because it's a fucking stupid name, like Realm Earth. Even them, a lot of their beliefs tie into some of the stuff he's been saying for years. He's got a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but if you look at all the schools of thought, his beliefs and understandings seem to encompass all of them simultaneously, in my opinion. And he hasn't been shaken by the fact that people think he's crazy. Fuck it, I don't care. You don't pay my wages. Something I've said for years. You don't pay my bills. You know what I mean? You can think, it's like, when I do things, I've always been unorthodox at work, but I get things when I was working in IT. I get things done. And one guy said, you're a square peg, round hole kind of guy. I don't give a fuck. I sledgehammer things forward because I know the only thing holding us back is the useless people around me. The people who shouldn't be in the jobs that they're in. All they do is they drag. No, you can't do that. No, Craig, you can't do it. Just let me do it. No, look, I'm not going to let you do it, okay? Oh, okay, so what you mean is you thought it couldn't be done, so you want to prove it couldn't be done by preventing me from doing it. That's what I saw in business quite a lot. This is why I stepped away from it. I just didn't need to be part of it. I realized it was all fake. We were all chasing the fake printed dollar. I thought all you had to do is get enough to buy a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of gold, a bus to roam around in, and eventually a house to have as a base. And I've got everything I need. Actually, I've got more than what I need, because everything you need is just any roof over your head and food. So I wanted to get to a stage where I wasn't spending the rest of my life chasing a dollar. And as I mentioned before, I had segments of retirement just in case I died early. The bastards wouldn't get more out of me. I would still have my percentage of retirement if I died at 26. Or if I went to jail at 26, more likely, or if I died at 30, or whatever it might be, or even now if I end up I've got some lump I need to get checked. It's just really weird. I've been trying to get this lump checked out since last year, and everything's got in my way. I got so annoyed that I went over to the UK recently, and England wasted my time. Went up to Scotland, got seen within 2 hours, but then to see a specialist was a delay. I've got a letter over here that got sent that says 6th of April, but that's not going to happen now. And the same as the hospital in Maribor called me up the other day and said that one's off. It's like everything's happening to make sure I can't get it checked out. I'm like, fuck it. If I die, I die. It really isn't that important. I think people put too much onus on life. Here's the thing, right? Whether we have multiple lives or not, whether we are have multiple lives coming back and being reincarnated on this earth, which I think is what you don't want to do, because this is the prison planet. Or whether we are an eternal life form that is not physical and this is a flesh suit, like I said before, yesterday. Or whether this is our only life. If it is our only life, let's take the worst case scenario. We only have this one life. So my mother said years ago, and it's a thing that got me out of depression when I was facing a lengthy prison term years ago in Australia, was that what if you feel like you feel suicidal? She said, she said it in the third person. She was not talking about me, but it did help me. And I haven't been depressed since. She said, these people that kill themselves, don't they know that the alternative is just nothing? So even having a torturous, horrendous life is still better than nothing. I beg to differ, because I think that nothing is neutral. Whereas suffering and everything is negative, on the negative side. So even if it isn't real, I don't reckon extinguish your life yourself. I think there is something sinful, for want of a better expression, about that, and wasteful. It could be an escape. It could be a trap. We really don't know what this world's about. We don't know what the rules really are, because everything gets bastardized and let's say if you believe in the Bible, how many times has that been translated? How many books have been dropped out of the Bible? I think it's 14 books have been dropped out of the Bible, for example, the Book of Enoch and many others. So, and in the translation, what words were, for example, pride is a sin? Did it really mean that I'm proud of my son? Well, did it really mean that pride's a sin, or do we not have enough words in our language to differentiate the different forms of pride? You can be proud of your son, but you shouldn't have pride when you look in the mirror, vanity, that sort of thing. Anyway, so I know I keep on going back and mentioning this crisis actor, so I better finish what I'm saying. Basically, you can't believe people who, if you just put yourself in their shoes, I'm Matthew McConaughey, and now he's telling us we're all in this together. All the cliched things I said in my old videos that would be words they would use. Let's come together. Let's come together. Watching Pornhub. I mean, how are we meant to come together when we're all apart, you fucking retard, right? And we're all meant to be self-isolating, which I'm not. I'm going to catch up with some friends this morning, fill up some fuel cans, do a few more things. Just continue to slowly prep in time. If you live in America, by the way, or any country that guns are still legal, because I know that in New Zealand now, where we could actually have cooler guns than what you could get in America, but not now, because that. Are you starting to see now that the situation in New Zealand that happened in the mosque might be something that was contrived, might be a guy that was paid a big sum of money and being told, look, you have to maybe spend 2 years in jail. We're going to let you out to the back door anyway. You can come live on this island. Epstein Island will be available at that time, so a few of them can come live out there. You know, that's what could have happened. These things were to create an air of fear, were to slowly drive narratives forward. I don't think anything we've seen, any major news has been true. I know 9/11 isn't. And for those that haven't woken up to that one yet, Building 7, just look it up. Building 7 collapsed on its own. All three buildings, those three buildings are the only three buildings in the world, the only three steel constructions on Earth to this day that have collapsed by fire. But you can say, oh, 2 of them got hit by planes. Okay. 2 of them got hit by flying tin cans that went through big steel girders. Yeah. And then once those flying tin cans somehow managed to rip their way through big steel girders that are strong enough to hold up a 100-story building, you fucking morons. After that happened, then from the top, those big steel girders somehow collapsed downwards. The top is on fire. The bottom compounds and wake the fuck up. But anyway, let's just say that's not the case. Passport lying on top of the rubble. The plane got vaporized. It went so fast it somehow made its way through steel girders and it vaporized on impact and ejected a passport from one of the... Did he throw it out the window? You know, the fully inflated tire on top of the rubble, you know, on the side street. Sorry, it wasn't top of the rubble. On the side street. How did that one just manage to get there unscathed? You know, how did it get back out the other side of the window? You know, if you look at where the passport was, the way you can see the smoke blowing, where the passport was found was actually in the opposite direction of where the wind was blowing, and the videos that showed the whole time the wind was blowing that one direction. And yet the passport is ahead of the wind. You're right. It was thrown out of the window as let me just roll this window down as I'm trying to career the plane into throw my passport. Bang! Yeah. Oh. And then there's Building 7. Oh, it's got a fire now. Everyone, you got to get out here. There's a fire. Oh, it collapses too. Out of sympathy. So it might be believable to you as a blue-pilled quisling, if you still are one, that 2 buildings could collapse by jet fuel, which cannot reach the, 3,000 degrees Celsius that's required to melt steel. And even then, it's 80 floors up. What about the other 80 floors below that can handle immense amount of weights? They're far over-engineered, these buildings, because they need to also compensate for earthquake and all that sort of stuff, for sway. You know, these things are over-engineered. Don't be a fucking moron. So, it falls in sympathy. And then all of a sudden you've got a building in the Pentagon. Oh, that happened at the same time too. So we didn't scramble these jets. No. This country with all this technology and you know, it spends trillions on the military-industrial complex. 21 trillion is unaccounted. Just not spent. $21 trillion is unaccounted for in military spending, right? And the US debt that's meant to be bringing the country to its knees was 23 trillion, but they just added another 2 trillion, so that's 25 trillion. Actually, go look at the debt clock. I might actually link that down here so you can see. I wonder if that has updated yet to 25 trillion because the latest quantitative easing will be closer to 26 trillion actually. Anyway, the whole thing's a lie, and this will be no different. People might be dying in the streets, but it might be something else. For all we know, the videos that we're getting in from Iran and China, for all we know, they're crisis actors, like the videos that we already knew were fake. the RT uncovered were fake in Syria about the gas attacks. And now, years later, Duma and all this sort of stuff has been proven to be fake, right? So this might be no different. A big elaborate hoax getting us all inside in our houses. It could be the fact that the end of the world's coming and they just want us to have a bit of time to relax and not work before we're all obliterated. Maybe it comes from a good place. That's what I mean. We don't know the agenda. Is it nefarious or is it not? And if it is nefarious, the things we can expect is, like I mentioned, the Georgia Guidestones. Please go visit them if you're in Georgia or anywhere in the USA. Look up Agenda 21 as well if you haven't looked up that already, which talks about the shrinking of the human population down to 500 million, which makes perfect sense. It would be annoying if the elites were to usher in this when it was the elites themselves and their relentless pursuit of the printed money that they themselves create to not be fascist, but to take the capital of everyone in a different sneaky way. You know, we can't do that way because the Illuminati book states that you have to do X, Y, and Z. There's rules to this shit. I wrote me a manual. Step by step. Oh, that's right. Biggie Smalls, 10 Crack Commandments. I had a lyrics come into my head. Talking about 10 Crack Commandments. Years ago, I met a guy at work. I started going out a couple of beers with him. His name was George Gallius Pratt, the poshest person I've ever met. I mentioned this in another video. But he's friends with Prince Harry and all these people. And the things that I learned from him about their party scenes. Another guy at work was, what's his name? Count Gottfried von Bismarck. He was the heir of the Bismarck family. And then also Kevin and Ian Maxwell. They were the bosses, who were the brothers of Ghislaine Maxwell, believe it or not. The son of Robert Maxwell. Very strange company. We used to have a fridge full of beer, drawers full of cocaine. It was really out of it. And it was good times working there back in 2000 to 2001. I worked there for basically 2 years just before that financial crash happened. I went to New Zealand, got married and stuff. But yeah, I learned quite a lot of stuff from these people. Another guy, Harry Pomeroy, who I remember I used to sell him coke, and we'd chop it in his office, and he put the blinds down so that the secretary couldn't see. It was really, really funny. I was like 22 years old, I think, then. Making my way in the world today takes everything you got. That's what it was back then. Living the system slave life. Even though I was actually I was very purple pilled even from New Zealand. Me and my brother Michael especially, where we could see that New Zealand was a socially engineered petri dish. We could see the whole political correctness gone mad in the UK and also in New Zealand and Scotland. Scotland and England lived separately. And even in South Africa a little bit, but not so much. Definitely in America. But we could see these agendas being pushed for a long time. But at that time it was like, well, I still want to travel. I still want to see the world. And when I was younger, I had an insecurity about being inexperienced. So I really wanted to go and see as many things as I could and do as many things as I could, hence all the traveling. And threesomes and all sorts of things. Never had one of those crusty threesomes with two guys. Never attracted me, that one. Just the real ones, and a foursome once in Poland, in Krakow. But yeah, so I was in a mad rush to experience things. You know what I mean? And put myself in a lot of fucked up situations, and got a hole in my knee in Turkey years ago, getting chased by all these dudes after all these chicks that everyone else was trying to get to. That hole in my knee there. That was a hit into a wall. It's the ancient wall in the town of the ancient town of Olympus, where Marcus Aurelius fought most of his fights. Great little place. They got tree houses and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm rambling on. I'm going all over the place. So maybe I should just leave it there. I'll just try to make sure I don't forget anything that I was going to say today. The crisis actors, don't believe any of them. All your countries, they will make certain selections. You know why? He's an upstanding person. He's a person people will listen to in whatever country you're from, Peru, Afghanistan, wherever the hell it is. They'll come up with example people for you to, and this is what makes me think all governments are in cahoots. Anyway, if it's not nefarious and it is just to help us, we've got an asteroid in the way. NASA say we've got 2 asteroids coming towards Earth. Now, the DARPA stuff I mentioned before in other videos, the Tic Tac video, the supersonic UFO video, I've already mentioned that my friend Neil he's from Scotland, but he lives in New Zealand. Hey Neil, if you're watching this, he sent that to me, and it's one of his friends, Ivan. He's a helicopter pilot, and took this video and noticed later on the whew, and the fast UFO. Go check it out. It's worth checking out. Unfortunately, he's a bit of a technophile, so his phone's low grade. So it's like, but it's still pretty clear. But it's not 720p or anything like that, you know. But yeah, that these narratives are going to come from people they chose. And just remember that the narratives they chose in the past were people like tiny kangaroo down, sport, tiny. Can you see what it is yet? Rolf Harris, right? And Jimmy Savile. How's about this bit of that there now? You know, right? All these people they chose were the paedophile crew, and now they're choosing Tom Hanks to tell us, oh no, you know, we're all. I couldn't believe I hadn't read that part where he said we're all in this together, and I said, oh my God, they're all going to start telling us we're all in this together, and then he did say we're all in this together. I couldn't believe it, and I thought next they're going to be telling us to come together, and they did. Boom, bazinga! You couldn't believe it. Yeah, it's the sort of term you get from what's his face, old Davy Cameron with his shiny polished face. So yeah, I'll say it again and again. The system's completely rigged. If you haven't left the system yet, if you're still working your system slave job, please come on, wake up. You can't be working your system slave job. You know, keep the gears turning. If you work, you know, don't be a prick. What I'm saying is, don't slave away. There are slave jobs, and there are jobs. There are jobs that have responsibility. If I'm working at the local water place here from my village, I'm not going to do my 9 to 5, but I'm going to go down and make sure the place is running all right. If I work at a local nuclear facility, which, by the way, if this affects a certain amount of people, the comedy series Last Man on Earth, where they slowly start having meltdowns in the nuclear power stations. That scenario could actually happen if the right people who know how to shut the things down, because you don't just close off a power station, you know. And people don't understand this. I work for Board of Water and Light in Michigan, for example. We can't just shut down these furnaces, right? As well, it's the same thing in the coal power station. It takes ages to wind them down. The more modern ones, you can fluctuate them quicker, but. Yeah, with the nuclear power station, it takes a long time to turn it down, right? So this is why you have a lot of surplus power in these countries. This is why they can be mining Bitcoin, and it isn't actually affecting the environment so much, because it's just power that would otherwise be unused. So, yeah, what can I say? If you haven't broken free from your system slavery yet, you probably will never wake up. You probably haven't prepped at all. You probably don't have anything. Toilet roll, you know, buy yourself a big massive hand towel thing. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't really matter about toilet roll. You can wipe your ass on something. You might be ass on a t-shirt. There's enough clothes lying around, you know. I don't know. I'm just rambling now. But at least get yourself some dry food. Get some lentils. Get some. You don't need much to survive. So lentils, pasta, yeah, they don't have much goodness in them, but they've got enough. They've got protein and stuff. They've got carbohydrates. And then pump it up with some multivitamins and, you know, things like that. Just and even then, don't have to have them every day. This whole 5 a day and everything. This is to live optimally. Well, my mother has another theory that the rich man's diet is what's making people die quite early and get cancer, but you know, that's another story. I might leave it there since I'm rambling. I'm just really trying to make sure that I don't miss anything out. Yeah, don't believe the hype, but still prepare yourself, because obviously something's coming. We don't know whatever it is. It's not what they're telling us. Whether it be disease or whether it be something completely different, you know, keep an open mind, because it will be most likely something completely different.